Okay, you guys, healthy taco salad, and this is full of so many different flavors and textures. Even if you're not a fan of healthy food, I promise that you will love this. Everyone that I've ever cooked it for, even when they were skeptical about the veggie grounds, has absolutely loved it and begged for the recipe. So hopefully you guys all like it as well. Also, the great thing about it is it's probably going to be one of the most filling salads that you've ever had. So if you're somebody that even by chance likes the taste of some healthy meals but don't really feel like you ever get enough food, this is the recipe made for you. And so I hope you guys like it. I'm going to go over really quickly the things that you'll need. You will need an onion, avocado, some little cherry tomatoes, a couple cloves of garlic. I really like to use spinach if you're making this for a family that maybe isn't necessarily a fan of spinach. You can always sub something like shredded lettuce just for more of an authentic, unhealthy food taste. A little olive oil to saute with. This is one of the things that makes it so much more healthy, and you can also make this a meatless night, which is always good to have one of those periodically. It's veggie ground crumbles. You can also get the Morningstar brand. They're really similar as when it comes to nutrition. Really high protein. The benefit you get over just any kind of lean meat is that it's also really high in fiber. Like I said, it's a good meatless night. Some taco seasoning, just a couple chips. You won't even need much because there's so many awesome textures. Some sliced olives and sliced baked beans. Some of the optional condiments that are also healthy are, instead of sour cream, low-fat Greek yogurt. I promise you, you will not miss the sour cream. This is one of the awesome things about Greek yogurt that you can sub it for even if you don't like eating it on its own. So you're taking a condiment that's not even very healthy and adding something really nutritious to the meal. And then also salsa, which is not that bad. It's one of the healthier condiments. Got some lycopene, so it's got some antioxidants. But we'll go ahead and get started if you guys are ready. Okay, you guys, here we go. I've heated up about a tablespoon of olive oil into a pan. I've chopped up my onions and my garlic, and I'm going to go ahead and get those sauteing. And this is what ends up making the meatless grounds taste really, really good. And this is how you deceive people. This particular step ends up making the biggest difference taste-wise and also texture-wise when it comes to the texture of the grounds that we're using. And we're actually going to saute these past the point of just being transparent. I like to go ahead and saute them until they're starting to get a little bit brown and caramelize a little bit. Kind of draws out a little bit of that sweetness, and I just find it adds a really, really good taste. So we're going to go ahead and let that caramelize before we add in the garlic. And you can go ahead and at this point too add a little bit of salt and pepper at this point. Just helps the onions sweat down a little bit more. And I actually like to use Himalayan salt because it doesn't have the same effect on blood pressure and actually has some benefits when it comes to the additional minerals. So it's good for you in a way. But while this is sauteing, you can go ahead and prep the rest of your vegetables. So you can chop your tomatoes and get your olives ready and your avocado. And that way, while this is going, you can go ahead and make use of your time. Okay, the onions are looking good and they're starting to take on a nice caramel color. They're past that point of translucency and they're getting nice and sweet. So I'm going to go ahead and throw in my garlic. I just minced about 3 cloves. If you're not a garlic fan, I would go ahead and try it because it adds so much flavor, and since you end up cooking it down a little bit, you don't notice any of that pungency. It kind of cooks that out and you just end up with a really, really good flavor, and garlic is amazing health-wise. So go ahead and throw it in there and then see what you think, because you definitely can't taste it in the end. The flavors just all meld really, really well together. You're going to saute that for about a minute or two just till you can kind of start to smell the garlic a little bit, but it's not burning. You definitely don't want to saute the garlic too much. Burnt garlic is not a good flavor. The last few steps on the meat is you're going to sprinkle about half of the packet of taco seasoning. That really ends up being about all that you need to add, I think, as much taco flavor as you would like. If you add more than that, it gets a little bit overpowering because the flavor of the grounds are a little bit of a milder taste than normal ground beef or ground turkey. Just about half the package. And then you're going to go ahead and mix that in. See, it looks like ground beef. That's why it's really easy to fool people. But so good for you. And you guys, this makes a ton. So this whole thing, I can make 2 salads with, and then I actually have, it only takes up about half of the meat, which the fantastic thing about this is you end up with a ton of leftovers. So you can either feed a whole family, or you end up with a lot of leftovers, and there's so many great things to do with it. The next day for lunch, perhaps you can do a really healthy burrito and one of those high protein wraps. You can do normal tacos. I actually like to just eat it with a fork because it kind of ends up tasting like thick taco chili, if that makes sense, but it tastes good by itself to me. So once you have that kind of mixed in, that's when you're going to go ahead and add your can of black beans that just add a lot of thickness. Don't want to eat the lid. It adds to the texture, it adds to the flavor, it also adds to how filling this is. And it also adds to the texture a little bit. I find that mixing it in with the grounds aids in how appetizing the texture is. And then it also, just that little bit of starchy liquid kind of helps thicken up with the taco seasoning, so you're not having to add water like you do with a lot of taco meals when you use those types of seasoning packets. And you're just going to continue to let that warm completely through, and that is your meat, your base. Now it's time to assemble this bad boy. I go ahead and put the meat into whatever I'm going to store the leftovers in, and as you can see, it makes just a ton. And I dish out a couple spoonfuls, and at this point, and this is something that's a little bit different about the way that I do things too, I'm going to go ahead and sprinkle just a little bit of cheese on top right now. And then I'm going to put it in the microwave. That way the cheese melts, the meat is really hot, and then when I assemble all the vegetables on top of it, they still remain cold and crisp. So you have the temperature differences, you have the textural differences, and I just find that it really seems to be a more efficient way to do it instead of the vegetables getting hot and the lettuce getting wilted and all of that. So that's what I'm going to do now, and I'll be right back to assemble it. From here, you're pretty much just assembling the rest of the salad. So I sprinkle the spinach around on top, or whatever your preference of lettuce choice is. And then some sliced cherry tomatoes. I just slice them in half. Seems to be a little bit easier to get on the fork that way. A nice bit of healthy fat in here too, yet something else that is equipped in this meal. Avocados are so good for you. And just a couple of olives. Usually just for looks, sprinkle the tiniest bit of cheese on top, just a little bit. And then as far as the chips goes, guys, trust me, there's so much flavor in this that even if you just took like 2 chips and crumpled them up on top, it tastes like enough chips, I promise. So usually I'll just crunch like just 2 chips kind of right around on top to add a little bit of crunch here and there. And then just to be decorative, if I'm trying to impress somebody, make it look pretty, I'll usually place kind of like in a sunburst decoration, I'll place a couple of chips going along the outside. And if I do eat chips, I'm not a huge chip fan, but I'll say these are my favorite when it comes to any kind of tortilla or just regular chips. They have an awesome flavor. I highly recommend these over the plain kind, the regular kind, just based on flavor. Even if they weren't multigrain, they taste really good. Just a couple plates here and there to make it look pretty. And then from there, if you want to add whatever condiments you like, I recommend the salsa and the low-fat Greek yogurt to keep it healthy. And beyond that, that's it. And it tastes amazing, and it's also good for you. So it's a win-win, and I hope you guys try it and love it as much as I do. And thank you guys for watching. Bye.